It really is time to get a bunch of these seeds in the ground. All of these are the ones I have collected that can be sown now and probably should be sown now. So let's go and figure out where to put these. Oh, this makes me so excited. Look at that. Look at that flower. Look at that beautiful, beautiful flower. And there's more to come, obviously, here. And if you walk, look, the strawberries are flowering. The early strawberries are flowering. Oh, I'm so excited. I really hope all the bees come and pollinate these so we will have early strawberries. I was a little worried about this late raspberry, but look, it is shooting. It is shooting. There are so many shoots coming, so this is definitely not dead. It made it. The other raspberries are coming as well, and so is this one, which I still can't remember the English name of. And look at that. I think that is the onset for the fruit. Oh, for the flowers and the fruit. So exciting. It's already there. The blueberries are coming along as well. This seems to be a little further along than the one down here. Seems to be a little farther behind, and with a little different leaves as well. But it's coming for sure. I found that one way to really easily make the rows is to use this little children's rake. It has a nice spacing for most things, and it's really easy to just pop it down like this and have a nice straight row. Even the children can figure that out. So I'm just going to make the rows. This being our first year planting in these, we could probably plant some things a lot closer. And next year I'd really like to add some vermiculite to the mix to be able to plant closer. I know you can't really see me, but it's either me or the bed, and since we're doing the sowing, I think the bed is probably more important than seeing me. In this row right here, I want to plant the onions and a little onion anatomy. This is where the roots go, and you may even be able to see a tiny root. And this is the neck of it, and this is what goes up. I have this nifty little thing which makes it pretty easy to just plop them down, but I am going to lay out the onions first just to see the spacing. And I can tell that even by planting another bed, we will still have more steps than we can fit in here. We can fit about 14 sets in a bed when I do it interplanted with the carrots. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm still so new to all of this gardening as an adult, where you really think about what you're doing, that I'm not so sure about the whole spacing thing. I obviously want to give the plants enough space to grow big and give a decent yield, but I also want to get as many plants as possible, and I am fully aware that the best way to figure out what works is to experiment. And I actually think this being a very experimental bed, I'm going to try to fit in a few more onions and So I have 2 beds that are planted with the proper distance according to the label. And then I'm going to attempt a slightly closer distance here and see if it makes a difference. Wouldn't that be fun? Let's do it. We have plenty of onions. The best way to learn is to learn by mistakes. So I am full willing to make these mistakes. So I'm going to put in 1 more onion in between them. And I know some of you are sitting out there thinking, oh no, don't do it, it'll go horribly wrong. You will get teeny tiny onions and whatnot, but what if I don't? And even if I do, oh, there's a rock in there. Getting teeny tiny onions and using all my onion sets is probably still better than getting fewer bigger onions and having a bunch of sets go to waste. So we are going to attempt this experiment. That is sort of the fun part of gardening too. Trying things, making mistakes, changing things from year to year. Even though I haven't been at it that long, I really enjoy that process. So we'll have to go back in and note in the garden journal that I planted twice as many in this bed. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14, 15, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14, 15. So there's 30 onions in this bed. And if that spacing works, we could grow 90 onions next year over 3 beds. That sounds more like an amount that actually makes a difference in the kitchen. We go through a lot more than 90 onions in a year, but even if we can just take part of the onions we use from our own garden, that would be amazing. Now I'm going to turn you back down so we can put these onions in. Oh, and I did it wrong. Let me show you something. Now this is exactly why I put them on top before I put them in. This was something I learned from the lovely Vivi of what Vivi did next. Because right now you can see, first of all, I decided to put twice as many in, and secondly, I didn't alternate my rows, so we need to move this 1 row over. We need to just use this teeny amount to just get them somewhat. I do want to give them good spacing, even though I'm experimenting with giving them less spacing. And now let's get them in the ground. So I have this tool here, and I think it's really easy to just, I plop it in, wiggle it around a bit, put in the onion, just so the top reaches the top of the soil. And it makes it really easy not to damage the onion, because it just kind of goes in where this used to be. There's probably a more correct way to sow your onions, but this is what I'm trying this year. I had read about intercropping the onions and the carrots. Apparently the onions mask the smell, I think, from the carrot fly. This dirt is really dry, so we need to water well. If this was a bit more wet, I would put it on my gardening gloves, but right now I just want to feel the soil and the warmth of the soil, because that is really amazing right now. It's so lovely warm. And now it's time for the carrots. I have 2 carrots I want to plant. I have a winter carrot and a summer carrot, and I've already planted some of each. I'm not really sure which one to plant in this one. I've decided to do the early kind. Again, we aren't planting for winter storage right here. We are planting for fresh eating. Can't really grow enough carrots for winter storage. If I was to guesstimate how many carrots we go through in a year, I'd say about 40 kilograms. These seeds are so small. I think I'm sowing early enough that if some of these don't germinate, I can go in and fill in some more. Oops, a few too many. And when I was a child, we would plant these without the spacing. You just plant them all throughout the row, and my dad would thin them. But I hate thinning plants. It's not so much the actual thinning, it's just the thought of ripping out perfectly good plants. And there's still more seed to go. So I'm going to gently cover these. You should generally plant the seed in the depth of the seed, so very small seeds shouldn't be planted very far down. And I'm just toppling a bit of dirt over the row. Carrots take a long time to germinate. I have no idea how long onions take, but by writing down in my journal, I know I have carrots right here. So that's this one bed planted. I will water all the beds a little later on. It makes no sense to water them right this second. It makes better sense to water them a little later in the day. Right, that didn't quite make a dent in my onion sets. I didn't think it looked like a much when you bought 200 grams, but there were so many in there, and there's still so many in there. Look, I have a bunch left. So I'll probably see if I can fit them in around the corners or something in the different beds when the plants get up. And I know that means these will be later harvested, but I think we have time to do so. Next up are the beets, and these seeds are quite a bit bigger. Let me show you. That's the seed you can see where you planted. And we use these in so many ways. I love to pickle them, we love to eat them in salads or in with carrots and potatoes roasted in the oven, fennel roasted in the oven. It's so good in so many ways. So I want to dedicate a full bed to it. And I can see in my plan right here that we plan to put them in this top bed right here next to me. So that's what we'll do. I'll read up on how deep they should be planted and such, and we'll get to work. The packet says they need to be planted 5 centimeters apart and 2 centimeters down. That sounds pretty reasonable. 30 to 40 centimeters between rows. That's a big spread, 10 centimeter spread. I can't actually fit 3 rows because this is only 80. What do we do? I certainly want to do more than just 1 row. You know what, I just had a thought. Can you put a root vegetable in a Hügelkultur bed the first year? I didn't even think about that, planting the carrots. Oh well, it's another experiment, I guess. Sometimes I wonder if we will even get a harvest this year. This is silly. You're sitting there laughing at me going, you're doing it all wrong. We'll have to see. Can you hear the birds? It's so peaceful in the garden this time of day. Can you see all those white little markers? My phone battery died, so I had to charge my phone, but because of time constraints I had to keep on going with the sewing even though I couldn't film it. And look, I've sewn so much, let's talk about it. We had the 2 carrot and onion beds that we had already sewn. Then we have our experimental carrot and onion bed. Then I sewed some beets in the far corner there. That's when my phone died. Then I have the next bed right there. It has a row of lettuce and 2 rows of spinach and room to plant at least 2 other rows, which I will leave for later in the season. Then down here I just had 1 row of fennel in. I had prepared a couple of other rows, but I decided to do this as succession planting as well because we can't eat all that fennel at once. And I'm not sure how well it stores. I haven't tried that. So if you know, please let me know. And over here we have leeks and spring onion. So I've got a good deal done now and I have to stop for now. But before we stop fully, we need to water. I honestly think this little pump is one of the best things we've spent money on in the garden. It makes life so much easier. That and this 1,000-litre tank. There's a spout at the bottom, but it's quite big and doesn't fit a garden hose. And we got really tired of watering with watering cans last year. So we bought this pump. It's got a rechargeable battery and we just hook it up. So here's the line, we hook it up and let's go watering. that's the watering done, and it's really wonderful to have finally put some more seeds in the ground. There's plenty more to do. Some will go in next week, I think, and in the meantime we're getting the bees, and there's so much going on right now. It's wonderful. I'm so excited to really see this kitchen garden turning into more of what we envisioned when we moved here. If you're enjoying these updates, and if you're enjoying all of these videos and my rambling, please subscribe, and if you know someone who might enjoy them as well, please tell them about them. I really enjoy making these videos, and I would love to see this channel and community grow as we turn our home into a homestead.